Hi, welcome to Life, Loss and Hope. My name is Sarah Bell, and today we're going to be exploring the effects of early grief on our mind and our cognitive functioning. When I was in early grief, it felt like I was losing my mind, my confidence, my abilities to function, and going even slightly crazy. It was so disturbing because a lot of what I was experiencing was so unexpected. I'd never really heard about how grief affects you mentally and cognitively. I was familiar with the more visible physical and emotional aspects of grief, like fatigue, feeling depressed, crying, anger, and numbness. So it came as a big shock to also feel paralysed by fear and anxiety, an inability to make decisions, to remember even the simplest of things. There was a great mental confusion in my head, an inability to concentrate, and suddenly I was hyper-vigilant about my own health and others' welfare. I had obsessive, illogical thoughts and felt suspended in a false reality, detached and alienated from my former self and life. It was very overwhelmingly scary, and in truth I wondered if I was just losing my grip, which made it feel like a shameful, weak secret that I kept to myself. Because I thought that if I spoke about it, that it would give the madness more power, perhaps confirm to those around me that I was really going mad, or maybe that I'd just disappear. In the grief work that I do now, it's one of the most common questions that bereaved people ask, albeit somewhat reluctantly and shamefully. Am I going crazy? And my simple answer is, no, you're grieving. It's part of the normal grieving process. Understanding that doesn't make the unpleasant symptoms disappear, but it can be hugely reassuring to realise that it's not just you. You're not unravelling or losing your grip on life. In a recent video, I spoke about the physical effects of grief on the body, which you may also find interesting and helpful. But today, let's look at the ways loss affects our mental and cognitive functioning. After a death, so many people can ask us questions like, was it expected or was it a sudden shock? I've really thought about this and why people ask such questions, and I guess it seems to me like an attempt to understand or frame our loss as perhaps lesser or greater, and then how they respond to it. But in essence, it's always a shock. Death is a shock. The definition of shock is a blow, an upsetting event, a bombshell or disturbance. So whether it is sudden or expected, either way, shock is shock and has some major impact on our mind, body, and spirit. In the very early days of loss, the brain enters an acute stress response and state of shock, and this floods our brains with hormones like cortisol and a fight and flight response. To an outsider, this may not be obvious or even look dramatic, but to the person who is bereaved, it can be completely overwhelming, as you can oscillate between feelings of total numbness, extreme pain, emotional flatness, a surreal sense that events aren't true, that you're suspended in another world, like a bystander in bewilderment, watching the world carry on as normal, like a paralysed, blinded deer caught in the headlights, unable to move. When a loss occurs, the brain's threat detection system becomes highly active, alerting us in acute fear and vigilance because something catastrophic has happened. Our brains and minds are flooded with stress hormones that alter our thinking, our attention, our memory and perception. Time may even feel distorted. Sounds may seem distant. Your thoughts may fragment. This response is not pathological, it is protective, because the brain is temporarily prioritizing your survival. So it narrows our focus to cope with the overwhelming information around us. Emotional numbness is often misunderstood, but it is our brain's way of buffering pain until it perhaps feels safe enough to feel it. Our bodies are very adaptive, and it's like our own form of natural anaesthetic that numbs the full intensity of the pain. And I often think that if we felt it all at once, that we would never survive it. Loss places immense strain on the brain's stress regulation systems. The body and brain respond as though they are under prolonged threat, and stress hormones may remain elevated for extended periods, even years after loss, affecting sleep, appetite, immunity, and concentration. Chronic stress during grief can impair the brain's ability to regulate emotions effectively. And this is why grieving individuals often feel extremely irritated, critical, overwhelmed, and mentally foggy. The brain is operating under conditions of threat. The reality of brain fog is huge, and I remember the first time that I went down to my local town after the sudden death of my brother. I had grieved hard because I'd learned that it's the only way to face the impact of loss, and it is healthy. And naively, I thought I was ready to venture out. So I got out of my PJs and tracksuit, and I put on a bit of makeup. I was ready to engage with the world again. And I drove down the road and I went to take some samples back to a carpet shop. I went to pay the deposit. I couldn't remember my PIN number. So I blocked a card, eventually, not just one, but two. And I cried. I told the whole story to the shopkeeper. And then I went to the bank to sort the cards out, but I couldn't remember my security questions. I cried again. After that, went to get some food, and I just stared blankly at the aisles, not being able to decide what to buy or even what to think of. Anything to eat seemed alien. I left the shop with nothing. I got back in my car, where I had a parking ticket because I'd actually displayed the wrong parking permit. When I got home, I crumpled into a heap of tears, snot, and I felt like I was a failure, incompetent, going mad, and losing my grip on my mind. But this kind of day is normal to experience when we're grieving, because our capacity is so depleted in grief that even the simplest decisions and tasks can feel impossible, like trying to do an assault course with a blindfold and our legs tied together. It can erode our confidence, but please remember it has nothing to do with our usual abilities. It is because we have thick brain fog, which makes us forget things, not think right, and feel exhausted beyond tiredness. It can also feel like your brain is consumed with thoughts of your deceased loved one. Thoughts about them, looking at photos, listening to voicemails, going over events, a bit like an obsessive state where your mind really isn't thinking about anything else. And the truth is that your mind is full up with stress, emotions, and on high alert. Your mind is a bit like this. It's so full up of emotions that if we tried to put some more in, it would just overflow. We can't hold any more emotion. Our capacity each day is a bit like a cell phone. So here's another visual to think about. So imagine this tower of bricks is your battery every day, fully charged with 10 bars of energy like this. In a typical day when we are not grieving, we need about 7 bars just to maintain our physiological bodily functions and systems. So that's 7. And then we need approximately 1 of these. We use it to manage our thermal changes in different environments. And this only leaves us with 2 bars to function effectively in our cognitive, emotional, and our spiritual realm. It's not a lot, even in normal conditions. However, when we're grieving in the early months and years, the demand on this small amount is seriously affected by a lack of sleep and exercise, fatigue, physical symptoms, poor eating, emotional upheaval, and draining thoughts as we process the loss. Not to mention the exhaustion that comes from that lack of sleep, crying, sorting out paperwork, and the legalities. Therefore, it's no surprise that it's very difficult to function normally from this small amount and make the hundreds of small decisions that we automatically make each day. Additionally, we are on high flight or fight response, and that is activated for a long time, making us over-vigilant about our safety, our health, the well-being of our family and closest friends. It almost feels like there are threats everywhere and the world is not a safe place. And for me, it kind of manifested in a bit of hypochondria, imagining that all my physical symptoms were something more serious or sinister. And I found myself constantly checking on family and worrying that they'd arrived on time, were they safe, were they healthy? Over time, as the reality of the loss becomes more integrated, our stress systems can gradually recalibrate. This doesn't mean that grief disappears. It means that the brain learns to carry it with less constant alarm. Understanding the neuroscience of brain fog and grief doesn't make loss easier, but it can make us feel less lonely. It reminds us that grief is not a sign of weakness or dysfunction. It's the brain doing exactly what it's evolved to do, holding on, learning slowly and adapting with care. Grief changes the brain, but it doesn't destroy it. And over time, the brain learns to carry absence alongside presence, pain alongside meaning. In this quiet transformation lies one of the most amazing human capacities of all, our ability to endure loss without losing the capacity to love. And finally, what practical strategies can we do to help us navigate the challenges in our grieving brains? While brain fog cannot be instantly cured, there are ways to manage its effects and regain a sense of clarity. You may want to prioritise rest and sleep. Grief can disrupt sleep patterns, but try to make an effort to establish a routine for going to bed, for getting up at particular times, which really can improve our cognitive function. You may want to use lists and reminders when you write down important tasks. You may set phone reminders and use a planner, which can help you keep track of daily responsibilities and tasks. You could practice prayer, meditation, mindfulness, deep breathing, as all of these really help calm the nervous system and improve focus. And even when you don't feel like it, start moving. Movement activates your body into calmness. So walking, running, Pilates, yoga, stretching, all will reduce stress. And it's easy to neglect our health and eating when we really have no appetite. But try to see food and water as medication. Stay hydrated and nourished, because proper hydration and a balanced diet support our brain function and overall well-being. And be patient and gentle with yourself. Acknowledge that the brain fog is a natural response to loss and that you're not going mad. And please ask for support. Talking to a trusted friend, family, or a grief specialist can provide emotional and practical support. And remember, you don't have to be alone in your grief. It's not a sign of weakness to ask for professional help to get through this really challenging time. Grief brain fog can feel overwhelming and intense, but over time it usually eases off and is a temporary state. So be gentle with yourself and allow the process as your mind is processing this deep emotional wound. And healing takes time. If your cognitive struggles persist for an extended period or significantly interfere with your daily life, you may want to consider seeking help from a grief counsellor or a specialist. And as you know, I'm really passionate about grief awareness and education. We don't understand what we don't know, so please forward this video to those closest to you so that they can support you and perhaps others in their communities who are bereaved with greater empathy and compassion. These videos are self-funded, and if you would like to consider financially supporting this venture so that I can make them more frequently, I will put the giving link below, or please email me at lifelosshope@gmail.com. Thank you as always for listening, and know that you're not alone. I'm sending love and comfort as you navigate your loss and grief.